Hey there, grab a seat. Consider this your very own one-on-one strategy session. I'm stepping into the role of your energetic immigration consultant today, and we are going to tackle a situation that stresses a whole lot of people out. If you're tuning into this explainer, there's a really good chance you, or maybe someone you know, is dealing with a major immediate crisis, expired temporary resident status here in Canada. But listen, take a deep breath. We are going to break down exactly how to fix this using the 2026 Restoration of Status Playbook. I've got a plan, and we are going to map out your path to safety right now. Your Canadian status literally just expired. Now what? Well, I know exactly what you're feeling right now. High-stakes panic. You're probably sitting there wondering if there's going to be a knock at the door or if your entire life in Canada is suddenly over. I want to reassure you right out of the gate. As your consultant for this session, I am telling you there is a strategic path forward. You are definitely not out of options yet, but we do have to act fast, and honestly, we have to act perfectly. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our consultation roadmap for today. We're covering 5 crucial things. 1, the 90-day clock. 2, the May 2026 visitor loophole. 3, the bill, a real-world breakdown of your costs. 4, the 4 deadly application mistakes. And 5, when to call back up. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right in. First up, Section 1, the 90-day clock. This is absolutely the most critical phase of our entire strategy. So what is restoration of status? Basically, it's a 90-day grace period created under Section 182 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations. It allows a foreign national to apply to get their expired temporary resident status back. Now, the really interesting part here is that term grace period. I need you to understand that this is not some automatic right. It's just a window of opportunity. To even qualify, you have to meet every single condition of your original permit. And, crucially, you have to be physically inside Canada when you apply, and you've got to stay here while it's processing. If you leave the country, that option closes immediately. Day 91. Listen to me carefully here, because this is the absolute danger zone. I have to give you a very stern warning. If you try to apply on day 91, your application is going to be automatically refused. Zero wiggle room. If you miss that strict 90-day window, you have to leave Canada. Continuing to stay past that point literally pushes you into inadmissible territory. So, the clock is ticking, and it's ticking loudly. Moving right along to Section 2, the May 2026 visitor loophole. Think of this as your brand new lifeline. This is a recent operational change from IRCC, and it is a massive game changer. Let's compare the two. The old way meant that if you lost your status as a worker, you had to restore as a worker. That meant desperately scrambling to get a brand new labor market impact assessment, an LMIA, or a fresh letter of acceptance from a school, all within that super tight 90-day window. For most people, it was pretty much impossible, and they just lost their status permanently. But look at the new way. As of May 2026, out-of-status workers and students can restore directly as visitors. This completely eliminates the need for those impossible-to-get documents right out of the gate. It's saving thousands of people from being forced out of the country. But hey, as a good consultant, I always gotta read you the fine print. There is a trade-off here. Using this visitor loophole secures your legal status super quickly, which is great. But you absolutely cannot work or study. When I look at a case with my clients, this visitor option is almost always the first choice we evaluate because it stops the clock, it keeps you in Canada legally. But we have to strategize for the long game because you're going to need to apply for a fresh, separate work or study permit later down the line if you actually want to resume your job or your classes. All right, Section 3, the bill. Let's talk about your out-of-pocket expenses. Let's talk dollars and cents and just walk through this invoice together. You have to pay the standard fee for whichever permit you're applying for, plus the restoration fee. Now, the absolute crucial point here is that this $239.75 restoration fee is applied across the board, and it is entirely non-refundable. Yep, even if you get refused, IRCC keeps that money. So if you're doing a visitor record, your total is roughly $340. A study permit totals about $390. A single employer work permit comes to roughly $395, and an open work permit, which tacks on a $100 open permit holder fee, totals almost $500. You absolutely must have these funds ready to pay online the second you hit submit. And that's not the only financial planning you need to do. Let's talk about implied status. If you file on time, within your 90 days, you are totally allowed to stay in Canada while you wait for a decision. Current 2026 processing times, they range from about 91 days for study permits all the way up to 180 days for work permits. But here is the critical part. You must stop working. You have to financially plan to survive for 3 to 6 months in Canada with absolutely zero income coming in. You cannot work and you cannot study while a restoration application is pending. It's strictly forbidden. Moving to Section 4. 4 deadly application mistakes. These are the pitfalls we absolutely have to avoid. Okay, I'm putting my protective consultant hat on firmly right now. Deadly mistake number 1, working or studying after your expiry date. Remember what I just said a second ago? Even one single day of unauthorized work completely disqualifies you under IRPR Section 183. And please, don't think you can hide it. Immigration officers will find out. They look at your tax records, your employer's T4 filings, and yeah, they even check your social media. If they catch you, it's an immediate refusal, no questions asked. Deadly mistake number 2, missing that 90-day deadline. This happens all the time because people simply miscalculate the math. IRCC counts the very day after your permit expires as day 1. And here is the real kicker. Weekends do not pause the clock. Holidays do not pause the clock. If you start counting from the wrong day, you blow right past the deadline and lose your status entirely. Deadly mistake number 3, filing without a letter of explanation. You have to provide a clear, dated letter explaining exactly why your status lapsed and explicitly proving why you meet the requirements to get it back. If you just quietly submit the forms and stay silent, an officer is going to read that silence as either pure negligence or intentional misrepresentation. You have to step up and advocate for yourself in writing. And deadly mistake number 4, mixing up implied status with restoration. Look, if you file an extension before your permit expires, you're on implied status and you keep your rights. But if you file after expiry, you need restoration. So many people file a regular extension application when they are actually out of status. Filing the wrong application type just burns straight through your 90-day window, and by the time you realize you made a mistake, it's way too late to fix it. Okay, I know I probably just scared you a little bit, but take a breath, let me reassure you. 70 to 80%. Based on industry bar reports and consultant case data, that is the success rate for restoration applications that are actually filed correctly. If you avoid those 4 deadly mistakes, your odds are actually really, really good. The absolute best predictors of winning your case are filing fast, ideally in the first 30 days, and filing a totally complete package in the correct category. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, when to call backup. Getting professional help. Look, sometimes doing it yourself is just not the answer. You need to call a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, an RCIC, if you are at all unsure whether you meet all those strict eligibility tests. Call for backup if you need a pro to evaluate if that new May 2026 visitor loophole is actually the right strategic move for your specific timeline. You should call immediately if you even suspect you've made one of those 4 deadly mistakes, like working without authorization, and you certainly need to call if you fear removal. A professional intervention can literally save your Canadian future. I want to leave you with a really important piece of consultant wisdom. A 30-minute professional review is far, far cheaper than a refused restoration plus a removal order. If your restoration gets refused, there's no formal appeal process. That door just slams shut. And a refused restoration often closes your path to a legal stay in Canada forever. It is incredibly difficult to bounce back from that kind of hit. It definitely pays to get it right the very first time. So, as we wrap up our strategy session today, I have to ask, are you ready to restore your status, or do you need backup? You have the playbook now. You know the exact timeline, you know the non-refundable costs, you know how to use the new visitor loophole, and you know the fatal mistakes you absolutely have to avoid. The clock is ticking right now. What's your next move?